And it really hurts. Should we do the pledge?
He makes my colleagues.
Will you do the pledge for us?
Sweet.
Sure.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. You want to know? He wants to know about Challenger, so I'm going to bring some people up here. It's early. We're not going to do anything without talking to you guys.
Good.
Yeah. I know. I heard. Good news travels fast. And so what does he want? He said, we want our money. I'm like, is money, is that all that matters to you, is money?
Well, pretty much. Pretty much. No, it's like that which was allocated here should stay here. Right?
The picture of Tanya was
Yeah, she's great. We took pictures.
Sure, son, it's great. So you're not the
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to call it to order. Okay, I'm going to call it to order. District staff, roll call, please. Present.
Ledford.
Here.
Barger.
Here.
Wow. Sorry. Okay.
Items 1 and 2 are placed before you on the consent.
We're going to do the pledge first. Okay. Mr. Ledford, would you lead us, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Any items to be removed?
My favorite Paris is here.
Your favorite? Okay. Go ahead.
Items 1 and 2 are placed before you on the consent.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Items 1 and 2 are passed unanimously. Item 3 is to approve October, November, and December 2017 and January 2018 expenses in the total amount as shown on the agenda. The chief engineer has a statement.
Just a couple of comments on this item. This is normally on consent because all of these expenses are in line with the budget that was previously approved. I wanted to call your attention to a slight typo. And I believe you have the red line version in front of you, but we recommend approval.
I have a couple questions.
Okay.
On the stuff that's done local, or I don't see a whole bunch of this that's being done local. Is there a reason, or what's our local process?
So the local expenses are expenses for just District 14 only. Those are listed as local expenses, and those are the warrants that are shown on the attached tables. So those are the true expenses of the district alone. The District's 14 share of allocated expenses are the joint administrative expenses allocated to this district.
Okay. And what's the Cal Poly Corporation? You wrote $30,000.
It's a consultant. It's called the Irrigation Training and Research Center. They do agricultural consulting services for us in accordance with the regional ordinance requirements.
Okay. In the Southern California Edison bill, have you looked at going to LCE instead of for the rates?
On the electrical, there's actually two electrical components. One is with Edison because they own the actual physical power lines, and so they get for transmission purposes. But the actual power is from Calpine Energy Solutions, and so we go out into the cheapest power available.
Have you looked at Lancaster Choice Energy?
I don't know that we've done that yet. We do have an energy group
CCA.
that goes out into the market, and I know they've consulted at various times with the city.
We can look at that and bring something back
Would you
to the
do
next
that?
meeting.
I'd appreciate it. And the Los Angeles County Tax Collector, what is that?
That's because we collect the service charge on the property tax roll, and so there's a fee for doing that,
Okay.
that they pay for basically reimbursement for the cost of collection.
One last question, wings and things? $16,000?
Which month is that? Are you looking at?
It is on 12/28/17, $16,277.15. Don't tell me it's chicken.
Now, we were thinking it possibly as an outreach outfit, but
Can you get back to us?
We can get back to you.
Okay.
It sounds like chicken.
Yeah, it sounds like chicken wings. Okay, so we're on 3. So I need a motion and a second for 3.
I'll move it.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 3 was passed unanimously. Item 4 is to approve plans and call for bids for the construction of the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant, Eastern Agricultural Site, groundwater extraction wells installation, and to authorize the chief engineer and general manager to establish a date for receipt of bids.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Motion passed unanimously on item 4. Item 5 is regarding contract and Groundbreakers Construction, Inc., and the amount is shown on the agenda for construction of the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant storage reservoirs, filter diaphragms. It's an A and B item.
I'll move approval item 5, A and B.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 5A and B were approved unanimously.
Number 6.
Item 6 is to authorize issuance of purchase order to Irrigation Training and Research Center, and the amount is shown on the agenda to provide agricultural consulting services and VADOS zone monitoring system maintenance at Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant, Eastern Agricultural Site for approximately 4.5 years.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 6 was passed unanimously. Item 7 is to approve an order executed agreement with Synagro WWT for loading, removal, transportation, and reuse of biosolids generated at the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 7 was approved unanimously. Item 8 is to adopt a resolution approving joint communities facilities agreement with Westside Union School District, Community Facilities District, item shown on the agenda, of the Westside Union School District, and STG Montecito West LLC, a California limited liability company.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, conversation. This one I don't like because it's not something that the city of Lancaster would like to get into. This has to do with the developer, the school district, correct?
Yes, the developer approached us and wanted to include our connection fees in the Community Facilities District structure. We do not have a recommendation from staff because we're fine either way collecting our collection fees in the.
But this puts the
typical way.
emphasis back on the residents,
Correct.
correct?
Is that through Melrose?
The developer would sell bonds, and the repayment of the bonds would become the responsibility of whoever the property owner is.
Instead of putting it in the initial cost of the home.
Correct.
So it's artificially giving them a cost of the home rather than, if they did it, the normal way we approach it is it would be put into the cost of the home and then move forward. So the consumer has to have knowledge of this, and it's artificially putting the cost of the home out there.
So you're saying included in the price? of
It
the
should be
building
included, you're right.
versus
That's what everyone
no.
else does.
Yeah, as opposed to a CFD.
Right.
Yeah, but when, I mean, I'm not a big fan of mowers anyway, but I mean, in terms of purchase, that's always disclosed when you enter into the escrow.
I know it's disclosed, I just think it's an artificial cost of the home that they have it, and then they have it. I wouldn't like to see this, I don't want to start it in Lancaster.
So Grace, can we go back to them and tell them that, I mean, because you said we don't care either way, but can we go back and tell them that the city has concerns about this and that we prefer that it be folded into the actual cost of construction?
Yes, it's the board's discretion because, again, we don't have a staff recommendation, but we don't have the authority to say yes or no to them. So it's the board's discretion whether or not to move forward.
So Marv, if you wanted to make a motion to do that, I'd have no problem with that.
Will you pull your motion?
Yes.
Okay, pull the motion. I'll make a motion that you, or I'll direct staff to go back and talk to the director and tell them our concerns.
Would you like to have a motion to defer to the next meeting?
I will do that.
Okay.
I will support that.
Okay, we have a motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 8 is to defer to the next meeting, and it was passed unanimously. Item 9 is to find 2 residential parcels near Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant, Eastern Agricultural Site, to surplus property, and authorize the chief engineer and general manager or her designee to enter into listing agreement to sell property.
This will give direction to go find those parcels.
We have to sell the parcels. We have a quick report on this from Ray Tremblay.
Yes, briefly. This is 2 parcels with a single-family home on it. They were acquired as a result of a settlement of litigation having to do with our 2004 facilities plan in EIR. The previous owner had litigated over that project, and as a result of the settlement, we acquired it. The property does not have a district's purpose. We've been leasing it for a number of years, and the rental market does not justify the continued cost of ownership, so we're recommending that we sell that at this time. And then with the board's approval, we would also like authority to enter into a listing agreement to make sure we can cast a wide net for possible buyers of the property, and we would do that with a local firm.
Does this property come with water?
It's a residence, so we actually asked the water master this question, the staff. It is a residence, so technically it comes under our umbrella, and the districts 14 and 20 got some water rights. But because if we sell it off, it probably would not. But we can work with the buyer on that, because I would expect the buyer would want to be able to have a
And
domestic
just be
well.
aware of that.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah, I would ask, given the challenges up here with nonprofits, that we look at maybe some of the nonprofits like the DV, Domestic Violence, or others for opportunity, first right of refusal on the purchase.
Okay, and we are required by law to do that with certain government entities, and we're in the process of doing that. We've given them a deadline until next month. But as far as nonprofits, they probably didn't fall under that umbrella, but we'd be happy to do that. Yes.
Thank you.
I think that would be good. So I need a motion and a second for 9.
I'll move.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Number 10.
Item 9 is approved unanimously. Item 10 is to receive and order filed the comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2017.
And board members, this item and the next item, we have a joint presentation that I believe you have a copy of. So we'd like, this item itself is a routine, we receive and file the annual financial report, but we'd like to go ahead and make the presentation for this item and the next item.
Okay. Who's making?
Dave Bruns, the head of our financial management department.
Even part of your explanation, I see that you have it's $926 million in unrestricted funds. Can you talk about that, what they're used for and what we can use them for?
Sure. Yeah, when we get to, we'll get to that. First on the CAFR, it is just the comprehensive overview of the district's financial position.
It was prepared in conformance with GASB, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. It was reviewed by an independent CPA firm, and a lot of the purpose of it, the rating agencies use it to evaluate us if they're going to invest in our bonds and that sort of thing. The real key conclusions on the next page, that revenues and expenses in the districts have held even. They're very little change from last year. All of our pension contributions, we've made all of our actuarial required payments, and that we're about 76% funded on pensions. Last year, our credit rating was upgraded. We were A+. It got upgraded by Standard & Poor's to AA-, and that all of our debts have been paid on time and all of our covenants have been made. In terms of the budgets themselves, what we're really looking at is the user charges. There's two groups of user charges. There's the service charge program, which goes to residential and commercial users, and we typically charge them based on the type of facility and the size of the facility, and then the charges go onto the property tax roll. And we do that because it's the cheapest form of collection. It also has the lowest rate of delinquencies, so it just makes it an affordable way to collect the money. The industrial waste users, because of their size and complexity, we actually charge them individually. They're required to meter. They pay the same basic rates, but they just have to meter, and then we charge them individually. The big item today is really related to the collection of the tax roll. 3 years ago, you adopted rates, and in fact, on the next slide, you'll see these are the adopted rates. In 15-16, we actually lowered the rate. We refinanced our outstanding bonds. It lowered the debt, and we reduced the charges. And then those charges have, the board adopted 4 years of rates, holding them constant, of which we're in the third year, and next year we'll be going into the last year. We're not proposing to change those rates at all. But the state requires, for continued collection on the tax roll, we have to go through this process of doing what's called receive and file a service charge report, and then subsequently holding a public hearing. So that's the real purpose. But nonetheless, it gives us the opportunity to review the budgets, and you'll see on the next page is a very brief summary of the expenses, which we have details if anyone's interested, but basically showing the O&M, the capital, and then the debt service. And then the next page showing the offsetting revenues. Again, the big revenues are property taxes, which we still get a share from Prop 13, and then the user charges. And you can, the increase in user charges is really reflective of, we're trying to estimate how, we have a low water rebate program, and to give people reduced charges, because we have assumed loadings, and if they're significantly below that, we give them a reduced charge, and we've been trying to get a better feel how many people are actually going to qualify. So there's no real increase in the rates, it's just the number of users that we have paying the full charges. And then to the degree that expenses and revenues don't match exactly, we either put monies into reserves or we take money out of reserves. And there's two types of reserves, big reserves we have. One is the capital improvement fund, where we take connection fees that are collected. Those are put into the capital improvement fund, and they're used to pay for expansion-related projects. And that way, existing users aren't subsidizing growth. The growth pays to do expansions that are required for it, and existing users only pay for facilities that are required for them. And you can see then we also have other designated reserves that we've been putting money into, because we know we have some anticipated capital projects upcoming over the next 4 to 7 years, where we're looking at some upgrades and replacement of some of the primary treatment facilities at the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant. And so we've been accumulating funds so we can pay for that without seeing a big spike in the service charge rates. Okay. And then just the schedule. Today we're proposing to do what's called receive and file the service charge report, and then subsequent to that we will schedule that you'll set the date, time, and place for the public hearing, which is proposed to be June 21st here at this location, and then we will handle all of the appropriate notifications.
Okay, And my questions were,
Okay, in terms of the total reserves, I got to look at your total reserves because some of that is, what's showing up in the CAFR is combined reserves of all districts, that your reserves are actually what really belongs to District 14. I can find the number is significantly less than that. It's the $900 million number really is the aggregate of all districts.
okay, can we get what is here?
Yes.
Can we get that number?
Yeah.
I don't really care what everyone else
No,
has.
I'll get your number. We have your number. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I will get the number for you.
Okay, and on the audit, there was nothing that was,
No,
you
it was
said clean,
That was a clean audit.
so there's no findings.
Correct.
All looks good to me. Need a
I'll
mo-
move the item then.
So item 10 is placed before you. We can take that motion for item 10 first.
She made the motion.
I'll move it.
We have a motion and a second for 10 to be approved. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Okay, item 10 was passed unanimously. Item 11 is regarding the wastewater revenue program. Item A is to order the wastewater service charge report containing description of each parcel and amount of proposed wastewater service charge for fiscal year 2018-19 for each parcel, filed with the clerk of the Board of Directors of this district, and to establish June 21st at 9:30 at this location as the date, time, and place for the public hearing on the report, and order publications as required.
Okay, can I move item A and B?
Yes.
I'll second.
We have a motion to move 11A and B. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 11, A and B were approved unanimously. Item 12 is regarding the implementation of mitigation measures in the final environmental impact report for the Lancaster Water Reclamation Plant 2020 Facilities Plan and report on acquisition of property.
Director, just a quick report on this item. When we did an EIR for the new treatment plant, there was a mitigation to acquire approximately 300 acres of alkali Mariposa lily habitat as a mitigation measure. And we previously got authority to the board to acquire those properties and report back to you as we acquire them. And we did, since we last met, acquire 2 parcels. They're reported in your agenda on the attached table and shown on the map. That does complete the 300 acres that we're required to acquire, and our next steps would be to enter into agreement with a local conservancy, the Antelope Valley Conservancy, and bring that back to you for approval, the agreement with the Conservancy. So there's no action required on this item. It's just a receive and file. And again, we would with your direction, would begin negotiations with the Conservancy to bring an agreement back to you. One other thing we'd just like to get your input on, occasionally within this habitat area, there are properties that tax defaulted properties that come up that we could acquire far below market value. It's not required as mitigation, but if, with your direction, we could pursue that if you'd like, or we could just stick with the 300. Or you could tell us in the future what you want to do.
You guys buying it? Somebody's buying land.
We're buying,
Property.
yeah. So yes,
And those would come back to the board.
you would look
for-
and then bring it back to the board,
Absolutely.
correct? Yeah,
Yeah.
so continue to do that.
Thank you.
So, but I'm going to take a vote on this to receive and file, okay?
Okay, that's fine.
So I need a motion and a second to receive and file 12.
I'll move.
Second.
We have a motion and second to receive and file 12. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 12 was approved unanimously. Item 13 is regarding audit of legal fees.
Just as background for the supervisor and also a reminder for the directors, this is an item we've talked about for a couple of different meetings. It was placed on the agenda at the request of the chair. Last fall, we did do some research on auditors that are experts in legal fee auditing and recommended an expert from, a local expert from the city of Glendale. The item did not move forward. The scope of that item was to include an audit of a sample of our litigation bills and also a sample of our audit, retainer bills for audit. And with regard to rates and number of hours billed. We did on Tuesday receive a proposal from Lancaster City staff with another bringing to our attention another firm with another proposal. Haven't had a lot of time to look into that, and what I'd respectfully request, if it's the will of the board, is to give us some time to look into that and define the scope more clearly with so that we're all on the same understanding with a defined budget and schedule, and bring that for your approval in June.
When did you receive it?
Tuesday afternoon.
How much?
It's approximately $30,000, but again, we weren't sure that they understood the full scope, or that we understood whether they understood the full scope.
We even understood.
So you want to bring it back to us at the next meeting?
We would, again, respectfully ask time to speak with the firm, introduce ourselves, explain the sanitation districts, how they work, background on our legal bills, and get a more fleshed out specific proposal.
So who typically would oversee the legal bills? We're doing it as a district.
I'm going to make a
Who would normally do it?
motion.
Because they don't work for just the district, correct?
That's correct. The bills that are charged to this sanitation district and all the districts come to our department heads for review and approval, normally on a normal bill. This was...
Is that the same firm? Same law firm? Does everybody's in the district?
Yes. Well, occasionally we have special counsel, but again, all legal expenses, whether from our district counsel, law firm, or special counsel, come to the department heads, our top management, to review and approve bills on their matters that they manage. That's the normal process.
Well, the reason I raise it is because, we are as a district now want to review for our district, and I understand that, I get it, but it's really the personnel committee, I think, at the collective boards that have these types of discussions, typically.
The personnel committee, which is made up of the chairs of each district, does review the periodic purchase orders for contract for legal services. So they will periodically go through the rates for, say, a 2-year period or a 3-year period, something like that. But on a month-to-month basis, the bills that come in are reviewed and approved by the department heads.
So I guess maybe the question is, are they aware that if you have a district that wants to review legal fees, kind of in their back?
The personnel committee is not.
Well, maybe that's something for us to think about, or know that. Quite frankly, I don't see the necessity for it, but $30,000, we're gonna.
I think the mayor has said that he wants to look at the difference between the bills from 14 and 20, because there's a huge disparity, and he wants to make sure that there's no problems with that. I think our legal team chose a group, I think it's Quovent.
Correct.
And so with that, I'll make a motion that we approve it on your acceptance of their, with the, that they're in line and qualified to do that, and to move forward with that.
I'd accept that.
Is that a
I just
second?
wanted to request clarification of the motion. May I ask clarification? For
Sure.
the motion? So do I understand that your motion is to move forward with hiring the city's recommended auditor on the condition that staff is comfortable with their experience?
And what they're doing.
And clarification of the scope
Correct.
of the audit?
Correct. Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
I think, would you want to review both before you make a decision?
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Well, you can't do that.
So that's a no. Motion carries 2-1. Number 14.
Item 13 was approved with 1 abstention. Item 14 is to authorize special counsel to initiate legal action to recover damages and repair costs.
This is agendized for a possible closed session, but I don't think we need to go into closed session unless it's the will of the board. This is a authorization to join a lawsuit that's being brought by multiple sanitation districts against a clay pipe manufacturer who supplied pipe to multiple sewer repair jobs that failed in an accelerated way before they should have. And we are suing to recover our repair cost. We've identified sewers in District 14 that were supplied by this manufacturer, and we would just like authority to join the lawsuit with the other sanitation districts.
And if the board would like to go into closed session to discuss this at any depth, we'd be happy to recommend that. However, we're also happy to discuss it in open session if you'd like more information on the matter.
I'm good with your recommendation. Catherine?
Yep.
So we have a motion and a second?
I'll move.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
Item 14 was passed unanimously, and I believe I misspoke on item 13. It wasn't an abstention, it was a vote no.
Correct.
And if there's no further business, a motion to adjourn.
I'll move.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. Great job. Thank you, Jim.